Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dog Training Secrets podcast. On today's episode, we're gonna go over how to effectively stop your dog from demand barking. Hey guys, my name is Brian, a professional dog trainer, and here we go over how to effectively teach your dog to behave in everyday real world settings so that you and your dog could do more of what you love together without the stress. So let's get right into it, guys. First and foremost, couple things we are gonna go over is what is demand barking in the first place, common mistakes you want to avoid, why it happens, why demand barking even starts, and how to effectively stop your dog from demand barking. So let's get right into it, guys. First and foremost, what is demand barking? And transparently speaking, demand barking is really when your dog starts barking at you to demand something from you. Pretty straightforward, guys. If your dog is barking and essentially demand barking, he's barking because he wants something from you. What could he want? He could want something like a toy, a treat, to go on a walk, simply your attention. And honestly, the more the demand barking goes and the more you reinforce it, the longer it will continue. Which brings us to our next point. Why does it happen in the first place? First and foremost, transparently speaking, initially it happens when your dog makes a conscious choice. It always starts off as a conscious choice to go, let me see what happens if I bark. What response will I get? And in one way or another, they get reinforced and rewarded for that barking, right? Meaning, in one fashion or another, the owner, you as the owner, may be giving in and reinforcing your dog for the bad habit of barking. An example could be if your dog is actively barking at you to go to the backyard and you let your dog out in the backyard, guess what you just rewarded? The barking, right? I had a client that also had another example of how this could play is I had a client a while back where he had a chocolate lab, and the chocolate lab would literally just like demand bark, wake him up and like 3, 4 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, just demand bark and go like, dude, take me outside, let's go play. Take me outside, let's go play. And like the owner couldn't sleep. Owner could not sleep until we actually addressed it, right? You're gonna have to address that demand barking because transparently speaking, demand barking is one of those behaviors that can continue and become extremely annoying if left unmanaged. So I'll go over how to effectively stop demand barking and how we help my client and his chocolate lab actually, allow him to get some sleep and actually teach his chocolate lab to stop demand barking early in the morning. So first and foremost, couple of things that we need to understand when it comes to stopping the demand barking. First, we need to stop giving in, guys. Super, super important. If your dog is demand barking, we already know that he wants something from you. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that he doesn't get what he wants from barking. Because if every single time your dog barks, you give him a treat, every single time your dog barks, you pat him, you get a dog that starts barking more and more and more. We do not want that, guys. Like, what's the point of like honest? I personally, I don't want a dog that's barking all day and talking to me all day. I don't want that. I want a dog that's just like, dude, you're not barking at me. There's other ways to communicate to me what you want. Second, now that you stop giving in, the second thing is create a routine. Create a routine around things that your dog naturally wants. So if you hypothetically speaking, know that like, yeah, my dog demand barks because he wants to play. I'm not gonna wait for my dog to demand bark to play with him. I'm gonna create a routine in where I'm proactive and I'm actively playing with him before that even happens. I might do the same thing when it comes to like other things. Like, hey, dude, my dog is barking because he wants to go on the walk. I'm proactive about it. Create a routine. Once you create a routine, things become predictable, right? Because your dog now has an opportunity to start anticipating what happens next. He's able to predict this is how the day is going to go. This is what happens if I bark. This is what happens if I don't demand bark. Now, third, you need to punish the behavior. If your dog is demand barking, yes, you could ignore the command, stop giving in. But like transparently speaking, if you just stop giving in, ignore the barking and just do that, the easiest way I could explain it is kind of like if you take an elevator every single day, you press the button, you know the elevator's coming, right? That button is your dog barking, right? Because he knows every time I bark, but he presses the button, the elevator comes. You give him the reward, whether it's affection, food, treats, toys, whatever it may be, taking him out on the walk. But for dogs in particular, once they have a specific behavior established, when they press that button to make that reward appear, hey, normally barking leads me to me getting affection. When he doesn't get that, your dog goes through a period where he starts getting frustrated, meaning he starts pushing the button harder, pushes it even faster. Then after a while, he's frustrated. He's like, "Oh my god!" Punches the button on the elevator, and that's when usually you get extreme responses, meaning your dog's barking may intensify before it gets better. He's gonna go bark, bark. This worked before. Why isn't it working now? Bark, 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 bark. Starts barking 10 times harder. It may actually even feel like, dude, the behavior kind of got worse before the behavior gets worse before it gets better because your dog is going, this behavior usually works for me, why not now? So that's the main reason we don't, like, yes, you want to stop giving in, stop reinforcing your dog, create a routine, but two, you have to effectively punish the behavior. When I say punish the behavior, transparently, I believe I have an episode on this, but like when it comes to punishment, it's really just doing something your dog dislikes, right? So, example, in the instance of my client with the chocolate lab that would wake up at the chocolate lab would wake my client up like 3:30, 4 in the morning, just a man barking to go outside, go play, go run, and you would think he had to go potty. No, dude, this dog would go outside and literally just run all over the place and have a blast. And now he would make that part of his routine, made that a habit. But how did we teach him? It's pretty straightforward. The dog started barking one day. The owner said no. He punished him. Now the method of punishment doesn't matter. You can literally use a squirt bottle. There, but what my client used at that moment was literally just um a pet corrector, which is just a can of compressed air. It's very small. It's literally just like very tiny. You press the button, and it just makes a sound like psh. That's all it does. Most dogs hate that. They're like, "Oh, dude, I don't want to hear that again. I don't want to feel that again." My client used that once, and he messaged me the next day, like, "Dude, I actually had the first full nights of sleep in like months," which is awesome, right? So the most important part is making sure that you have to effectively punish the behavior. Now, an effective punisher or punishment for your dog is going to be something that's firm enough and strong enough to stop the behavior. If you, hypothetically speaking, raise your voice at your dog, yell at him, and he doesn't stop, well, obviously that your dog didn't view that as a punishment, right? You don't get to choose what your dog finds rewarding or punishing. Your dog does. Our job is to be aware of what he finds rewarding. Hey, I understand that you're starting to find the barking rewarding. I can't let you practice that because the more you practice that, the stronger of a habit that's going to be. So effectively punish the behavior when your dog does the barking. And the most important part about that is just making the punishment specific to that behavior. No, you barked. Here's the consequence for that. And three, and last but not least, is make sure that you want to stay consistent with a new routine and make sure that you also give your dog something else to do. Because what'll happen is once the barking subsides and you punish the barking and you stop reinforcing it, there's a void. Your dog is gonna go, "What do I do now? Normally I bark at you to get what do I do?" So now that your dog is essentially like a clean slate, and like in that instance, that behavior is a clean slate. Okay, what do I fill this behavior with, or this void with? What you want to do is show your dog something else to do. I always remember it's a lot easier to teach your dog show your dog to do something else versus transparently speaking, just teaching your dog, just telling your dog you can't ever do that. You can't do that. You're just flat out stopping a behavior. Obviously, there's going to be moments where we're going to have to do that and teach your dog. I don't care what else you do. You can do whatever you want. You just can't do that one behavior. That's fine. But again, what I would do is kind of just teach your dog to stop the demand barking. Once he stops the demand barking, don't just leave him there standing idle. I would just go, cool, now that you stopped the barking, here's something else to do. But you address the barking in the first place so you don't have a dog that progressively gets worse over time. Because again, if he's barking, you're rewarding him in one way. But the second thing, guys, if your dog is barking is a has a self-reinforcing component to it. Meaning, for certain breeds, hounds that are love barking, love how are very vocal dogs. They find barking reinforcing. Meaning, you don't have to give your dog a treat for barking. The act of barking itself feels more and more and more reinforcing. So that's the big secret for today, guys. Make sure that we effectively stop your dog's demand barking in a couple ways. First and foremost, guys, make sure you effectively stop giving in and reinforcing your dog's barking. We already know that if your dog is barking and he gets access to something he wants, he learns barking gets me, opens doors for me, and gets rewarded. And that behavior eventually becomes stronger and stronger. We don't want that behavior to get stronger. So what do? We stop the reinforcement and the rewards for that behavior. Second thing, create a routine. If you already understand that, hey, dude, around this time my dog is already demand barking because he wants to go on a walk, he's restless, he wants to play. Be proactive about it. Don't wait for your dog to demand bark to satisfy those needs. Three, punish that behavior. Make it super, super clear. You bark? No, here's a consequence. Just use the can of compressed air, the pet corrector, squirt bottle, use the leash, whatever it is. The most important part is communicating to your dog. That's wrong, dude. Don't do that. And last but not least, now that you have effectively punished that behavior, give your dog something else to do. Show him what to do instead with that free time. Instead of telling my dog like, okay, you just can't do that, I tell my dog, you can't do that, but here's something else you can do. That way, I create a new habit, and the old habit dies out and gets replaced. And that's the big secret for today, guys. By the way, if you guys enjoy things like this and want to take your dog from pulling on the leash, not listening, barking, lunging, and everything in between to off-leash reliable, click the link in the description below and apply for your dog's free transformation session where we go over each and every single behavior issues you guys are experiencing, your goals, your lifestyle, and create a custom program for you and your individual dog.